Hey guys, welcome to Dead End Street. I'm Al. I'm joined again by Dr. Bern. We are doing the Roxy Music album ranking, which is super easy and a super pleasure for me because, you know, as I've mentioned before on here, like Roxy's like the top of the mountain for me. So, um, Bern, what, Dr. Bern, what is your history with Roxy before?
Actually, I didn't know as much Roxy until you. So you were like before, like you should listen to Roxy music. I was like, okay, because the only thing I really knew at beginning was like the Avalon albums kind of stuff. Honestly, that was really
Right.
all. And I'm like, okay, that gave me one impression, which we'll get to as we go forward with
Mhm.
the rankings. But then I learned a lot more about them afterwards. But I have been more of a more relatively recent fan of Roxy in recent years compared to like some of the other bands.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of, we'll get into it, but like it seems like most American fans, especially the ones our age,
Yes.
Avalon tends to kind of be the one that they know. So,
Mhm.
um, but all right, well, let's get started here, shall we? You want to go first with your number eight?
Yes, number 8, I will go with Flesh and Blood. Well, first of all, I have to say that album cover is incredibly cheesy. It's so cheesy. I can't even stand how cheesy it is. It's just with those the two of them with the javelin or it's just the worst album cover ever. And I will say this, actually, I don't think any of the albums are bad of the Roxy Music stuff at all, but that one I put 8 because I there were a couple songs singles I thought were fantastic. Obviously, Oh Yeah, Same Old Scene was a fantastic song. I like their remake of 8 Mile. So I do think there were some pretty really good songs on there. It's just I would say as a whole I didn't find it as um it didn't captivate me with the way some of the other albums did as a whole, so that's why I ranked them 8, but I still think there was a lot of good stuff, and it was obviously pretty different than a lot of their other stuff, but yeah, decent album, some really good songs, but I would say as far as Roxy go, which do give a pretty high standard, that would be an 8 for them, which is, pretty high compared to a lot of other bands.
Yeah, yeah. I got it at number eight also. Yeah, Flesh and Blood for me. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, for me with this album, it's kind of the highs are really high and the lows are not so great. So, I mean, I think the one thing that baffles me about this album is the track sequencing. Like, why would you start the album with a really bland cover of Midnight Hour and then go right into Oh Yeah? You know what I mean? Which isn't my personal favorite Roxy single.
Mhm,
And then they finally, I think the album, to me, the album should have started with Same Old Scene. That should have been the opening track of the album, which,
mhm,
great track, hits you right away. And I mean, you listen to the Same Old Scene, you can really hear kind of where like Duran Duran got the idea for like basically everything they did for like the first two, three albums, including like Rio and I'm sorry.
mhm.
Um, the title track is okay, but it sounds kind of like a leftover from like the Manifesto record, like something that didn't make the album. Um, but I think the best song of the album is My Only Love, which is a great, great song. But the live version, which is on the Heart Still Beating album, which was the second or the third live Roxy album, um, it just kind of kills the studio version. It's just so much better. Um, Over You kind of reminds me of something that the Bunnymen might have done. Kitty Cat. Over You kind of reminds me of something like the Echo and the Bunnymen might have done, or the Cure might have done on like Kiss Me, like later on. I kind of thought the 8 Miles High cover was kind of pointless, a little bit unnecessary. Rain, Rain, Rain is really cool. Strange Delight has a beautifully nocturnal vibe to it. Love that track. All in all, I mean, it's a good album with some very questionable choices and covers, and one kind of not my favorite song. But hard to believe, though, when listening to this, it's only 8 years after the first album. I mean, it's
Oh,
so crazy how much they change from album to album. But
yeah.
yeah, number 8 for me is Flesh and Blood.
Okay. 7 for me would be Manifesto. Again, good album. And then that was a neat one because now that I learned a little more about their history, it was like that was after their 4-year hiatus. They kind of came back, and then this was something kind of a little different. And it was, I would say there's a kind of a mixed bag for me with this one. Some of the songs I thought were fantastic. I really liked the self-titled song. There were some of the songs that had that little dancey, disco-y kind of feel. I like Trash, Dance Away, I obviously think is a fantastic song. So some of the songs I did really like. Some of them I found like Cry, 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 not necessarily my favorite. But I think overall it was good. I liked it. It was just again, we're comparing them to other Roxy songs, so I would give them a 7.
Yeah, yeah, same here. I got Manifesto at number 7 also. Um, I mean, the best way I guess to describe this our record is like kind of what you were saying. It's uneven, you know.
Hmm.
Like you said, like I mean, there's songs on Manifesto I love. There's ones that I don't, and then there's a couple, even one that I really don't. The title track is great. Like a sultry bass line. Annie Mackay's sax is amazing. Then it goes into that new wavy trash, which is kind of awkward, I think. And it's not like the mysterious Roxy that I like. You know what I mean? Angel Eyes is good for what it is. Has some jazzy parts and a good hook. Stranger Through the Years, I think, is probably my favorite song in the record. That's awesome. Great overall mood. I think this record kind of hung with that mood, like with like Manifesto and with Stronger Through the
Hmm.
Years. It would have been, I think a much tighter album. The haunting piano and the fretless bass, the dissonant fretless bass on Stronger Through the Years is just great. Dance Away is okay. Again, it's not a real lot of mystery in there, like that stuff that kind of reels you in. It's kind of pop, which is fine. Um, it's kind of yacht rocky
Yeah,
in a
yes,
way,
yes, it is. Yes,
which
it
is
is.
kind of weird for Roxy music.
Yeah.
Cry, Cry, Cry isn't ideal either. I think you mentioned that
No,
also.
no.
Uh, Spin Me Round is one of the better tracks in the record, but on the whole, I think it's a very good album. It's not top tier Roxy, but I mean, for anybody, any other band, this might be their best album. So, but yeah, I'm going with Manifesto number 7 also.
Okay. Um, my number 6 is Avalon. So that was the one I first knew about. It's a great album. And I like that one because it's like you can really hear Brian Ferry. He's singing. He's like the crooner. He's smooth. His vocals are just like they're perfect. It's fantastic. Obviously, More Than This is an awesome, awesome, awesome song. I also really like Avalon. And I don't know. It just kind of felt like it's like, okay, we're in a different phase now. We're kind of figuring out who we are. It's a completely different kind of music than the beginning. But I think it was a good album. It's a good one to listen to with the animals. It's a little more chill. They like it. So yeah, it's a really good album. I mean, I don't have much else bad to say about it. It's kind of a chill album, but good.
Yeah. Um, yeah, my number 6 is also Avalon from
Oh my God,
1982.
that's so weird that we're this on track. Wow.
Yeah. Well, look, for me, um, from here on out, like every album is like a 5-star album.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, it's not my number 1 or 2, but it's damn near perfect anyway. Um, so I mean, they have 6 masterpiece records. It's insanity. Um, However, I do have a strange relationship with Avalon. I mean, I acknowledge its greatness. I love listening to it on a hot summer night. Um, However, I can't help but be somewhat annoyed that this is the only record that everyone in the States knows, because
Right.
you're only getting like one aspect of what the band is, which is so minuscule compared to what the rest of their career is. And as it is, I mean, it's like their sixth best record, and it's, almost perfect. And I think so often by listening to, I mean, that it's obviously the launching point for Brian Ferry's solo career, because this is kind of where he went after Roxy was over. So, um, I mean, it's smooth as fuck. It's probably the best produced and mixed
Yeah,
record of the
yeah.
80s. I mean, it sounds amazing. Um, yes, I mean, it's the record that has More Than This on it, which is a great song. It really is. Um, but I mean, then after that, you have The Space Between, you have While My Heart's Still Beating, and The Main Thing, which are like supremely suave songs. Take a Chance on Me really has a lot of post-punk
Mhm.
spirit to it. Uh, Musically could have fit on probably on Head on the Door by The Cure, or even Tinderbox by the Banshees. I mean, just little tweaks here and there could have just fit perfectly on those records. Um, it's amazing they never got it together enough to ever record another album again after this. I mean, they got back together in the 2000s, did reunion tours, but they never did another album. This is the last Roxy Music album, and this is 43 years ago. And all the original members are still with us. They're still around, and they just don't do it. It's just amazing to see, though. Like, they started out with Virginia Plain and ended up with True to Life. I mean, it's an incredible musical journey for one band, and it was really only a matter. It was only 10 years they were around. I mean, and to cover that much ground in 10 years is insane. It's an amazing conclusion to an amazing recording career. I just wish they could have found more success in the States, because I think it's all kind of bullshit that, you know, yes, they finally got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was great. But everybody in the United States was just like, who? Oh, yeah, the More Than This guys. No, God, no. Mm. Yeah. So, as awesome as it is, Avalon is number 6 for me.
And now's when it starts to get tough because the other ones are like
Oh, yeah.
so good. And actually I will say my next two, like I really had a hard time like deciding between some of them. My number one for me was very easy, but like some of the other ones, it was a little, these two were tough. But anyway, this was very interchangeable with my next one. But
Mhm.
my number, what is it? Number
Number 5.
5 is again, and I could change this at some point. I made that I made it their first album. Again,
Wow. Okay.
well, that I'll explain why. One is because of the production. The production kind of sucks. And I think that sort of takes away from it a little bit. And the other reason I put it there too was because I don't always go, like, since I start listening to them, that's not the one of the albums I go back to as much, even though it's so awesome. It's so experimental. It's so artsy. It's such a wide range and spectrum of different kinds of music. It's, again, completely different. Like I said, I don't have anything bad to say about it except the production sucked. And I just say too, I would say I know that was back when they had, like, was it Brian Eno, and they were
Yep.
doing all that cool sounds and stuff. And I some of that stuff I thought was super awesome, but I don't know if I would necessarily always personally like put on sounds. Sometimes I just want to hear, like, I don't know, like something I'm gonna like, I have to be in a certain mood for that. So, but anyway, it's still incredibly awesome. Virginia Plain is a fantastic track. Yeah, I mean, it's just completely different, unique, and but I will say that cover too. This is another one with the covers. Like, what is up with that cover? Like, is that supposed to be comedy? Like with that eyeshadow and that, like, I feel like it has to be some kind of comedy because the bright blue eyeshadow and the
Well, I think it was supposed to be like a throwback,
oh my,
to like old Hollywood and stuff.
but the
Um,
bright blue eyeshadow, it's like so tacky. It's almost like, oh my God, it's not tasteful.
okay, so that's where we divert. And, but it's funny because we're not really okay. We'll get to it. But my number 5 is going to be Siren. Um, it's funny because like Siren kind of gets a little ragged on for being their most straight ahead rock record. I mean, up until this point. Um, and that may be the case, but it's still like a damn near perfect record. Um, Love is the Drug is like the biggest Roxy hit that they had in the States back in the 70s anyway. And its existence alone really ignited a ton of bands. I mean, you can listen to it and you can really hear where like Talking Heads or Gang of Four or Red Hot Chili Peppers, so many bands. I mean, you can listen to it and just be like, yeah, well, obviously these guys were, inspired by Roxy. But it's a great song and I never get tired of it. It's just one of those songs, no matter how many times I hear it, like I still love it. End of the Line is really
Great
great.
song.
It could have, I think, although it could have, I think it should have been the album's closer, not only just because of lyrically, it just kind of sounds like it should be the end of the album, not the second song. I'm nitpicking here. Um, it's a great like American country style keys with like a Beatles type groove to the piano. Sentimental Fool, it has like an imposing bass line um, in the intro that kind of predates Bauhaus almost by like 5 years. Then it slides into Monster Groove of John Gustafson on bass and Paul Thompson on drums. We're completely in lockstep, and it ends a real moody vibe with a great vocal by Brian Ferry. I'll be talking a lot about Paul Thompson on here because I just think he's just one of the greatest drummers, and like he doesn't get any. I never hear anyone talk about how great of a drummer he is, but I mean they're all great. Every one of them is great. But I mean, I just think that Paul Thompson just does not get the kudos he deserves. Uh, my favorite track on the album is Both Ends Burning. I just think it's just a great, great song.
Mhm.
Um, Another great performance by Thompson, wrapped in a killer hook, and one of Brian Ferry's just all time best vocal performances at the end where he's like both ends burning. It's just amazing. Um, like that whole final chorus is just superb. Nightingale has one of Phil Manzanera's most memorable intros and a sublime oboe solo by Andy Mackay. And I will say that Roxy Music is the only band in the world that can make an oboe sound sexy. Um, Just Another High is the album's closer. Is a good mid-tempo track that should have probably, like I said, switched spots with End of the Line. More nitpicking. Just great. It's almost perfect album by Rox. I just think it's a little bit less awesome than the top four. So number 5, Siren.
Okay. So my next one is Siren. And again, kind of like what you said, it's a great album. I again for me, Both Ends Burning and End of the Line are both my favorites from that album. And of course,
Yeah.
I mean, Love is the Drug's always a fun song.
Mhm.
And yeah, just a little different than some of the other ones before, not quite as experimental, a little more not it's still a little edgy, but it's kind of like changing a little bit, like going into a little bit of a different sort of feel than it was I would say like before this.
Mhm.
But yeah, but it's still a great I still enjoyed it. I think I don't dislike anything on this album, and I can always listen to it. So it's yeah, really good. I'm nothing again. These are all some of these are getting pretty close to each other. So but no, I have nothing bad to say about it. She sells, I like
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like number 4, I have Stranded, which this would clearly be just about any other band's best album. Like this is such a great album. Not only is it incredible, but it's like the second incredible album they did that year. So I mean, there's 2 albums in '73. Um, it's the first one without Brian Eno. He's replaced by Eddie Jobson, who's a phenomenal musician. Um, the funny thing is like there's a famous interview with Brian Eno where they ask him what his favorite Roxy Music album is, and he says it's the first one without me. He said Stranded, he believes it's the best Roxy Music album, which I thought was funny. Um, the opening track, I mean, Street Life, what a great opening track. Um, it's a huge hit in the UK. Didn't really do much here. Just Like You is just one of my favorite all-time songs. Um, the lyrics, it's just phenomenal. Brian Ferry's vocals with the whole piano going together, it's just to die for. Amazona starts off with a neat little shuffle, um, and then it goes off into this tangent and then comes back to the shuffle at the end. Um, Song for Music, a Song for Europe, is just one of the most majestic things recorded by a rock band. It's just just this powerful piano. And then Paul Thompson's drums on that track with the piano. It's just, you get this mixture of like feminine beauty with this masculine power underneath of it with the drums. Um, he really, like, it's funny because you got all like these super artsy fartsy guys around him, and he's just bashing away on the drums in the background. He's just totally rude, you know, surrounded by, like, Manzanera and Ferry and Mackay. Um, Mother of Pearl is probably the most rocky song on the album. Well, he starts out that way, and then it's just like this fantastic uh, hook at the end, where it just goes out to the end, where it just, all the music starts to fade away, and all you hear is Brian Ferry's vocals at the end, just saying "Mother of Pearl." I wouldn't think you were another girl. And then Sunset, which is like the proof, beautiful, perfect ending to the album, because of Sunset. An incredible record. I mean, it's a perfect 5-star album, and it's number 4. It's nuts. Like, I just love this band.
My next one was Country Life. Again, would that change a month from now? Possibly. Um, but it'd still be up there. Again, fantastic album. I will say this album actually, I didn't like it as much the first time. It's one of those albums I had to keep listening to. And the more and more I listened to it, the more and more I liked it. And then the more and more I kept wanting to listen to it. So I don't know why that is. But anyway, fantastic album. The cover, a little ridiculous, but the I mean, like, they got it. I mean, the covers of some of these albums are like a little too cheesy, but anyway, Thrill of It All. Oh my God, that is just such an awesome song. All I Want Is You. It's got this glammy rock kind of feel, but it's mixed, it's diverse. Almost feels almost like a slight country-ish, but not,
Yeah,
but rocky. It's edgy, it's weird, but it's different. It's just, I don't know. It's just freaking like amazing album. Yeah, just different. Everything's different. It's just cool. So a lot
yeah,
of energy. Yeah, it's just an awesome album.
yep, yeah. I agree, but we'll talk about that later. Because my number 3, believe it or not, and I did not think this when I was doing, because I mean, the top, I knew where most were going to land, but the top 3, it was just kind of like, oh man, do I really
Yeah,
have to choose?
yeah.
Um, Number 3 is going to be the self-titled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and this is like, it's such a revolutionary record. Um, I mean, this is the album. Like, I mean, they are like my favorite band for a reason, because this album and these first 3 or 4 records really just catapulted all these other British acts that I love to want to start bands. You know what I mean? Your Banshees, your Bunnymen, your um, you know, The Cure, Sisters, the Sex Pistols. Like, I mean, everybody. Um, the Clash. I mean, everybody. But I think, I mean, in a way, like, there's a few acts that came out in the early 70s that kind of like put the stake in the heart of the 60s love generation. Um, at least in the way that, like, the idea, the very blue denim truth 60s. You know what I mean? One was Alice Cooper. Another was T-Rex. Another was Bowie, and the other was Roxy Music. It kind of brought rock back to what it started as, which should be something artistic but fun. And as great as a lot of the art acts were in the 60s, I think they started to believe themselves to be more important than they were. Um, if does that sound mean? But I guess what I'm trying to say is like what they were trying to say, I think, was more important than what they were writing musically. So the early 70s come, these acts come, and all of a sudden rock music is fun again. And but it's still very artistic and very groundbreaking. So you get this the super glamorous sound of like an art rock thing. It's progressive rock. It's 50s rock. It's glam rock. It's everything. I mean, it's a cocktail of guitars, pianos, saxophones, oboes, crazy synthesizers. I think the shit that Brian Eno does in this record, I think, is it's almost you can almost describe me as like the mad scientist in the background. I mean, because he's not really playing an instrument per se. I mean, he's got like these synthesizers and he's got like these pedals, these effects pedals and stuff hooked up to the saxophone and the drums, like, and he's directing like all these crazy sounds in the background. It's just pure genius. Um, so you remake, remodel, great opening track. It's it really kicks off what Roxy is. You kind of have like this uptown party and you hear like the glasses clanking, and it sounds like everyone's having a really good time. It goes into Ladytron, which is just it's like the crazy sci-fi glam rock track. And then comes one of my favorite songs of all time, which is "If There Is Something." Totally epic. It starts out with this crazy country thing, and then goes into like this nocturnal, sorrowful guitar with sax magic and in my opinion, probably the greatest sax solo that any rock band or song has ever produced by Andy Mackay. Just great. Uh, Brian Ferry's greatest lyrics, I believe, in this song. Goosebumps every single time I listen to it. Perfect. Um, Virginia Plain is just 2.5 minutes of glam rock masterclass. Chance Meeting, great haunting piano piece. Then at the end of the song is where you get to hear where all the post-punk bands started to get their guitar sound from, and that's from Phil Manzanera as one. I mean, there's other people too, but Phil Manzanera, I think, was very ahead of his time by about a good 10 years. 5 years before punk, let alone post-punk. Would You Believe is really, I mean, if you listen to it and you're like, wow, like where did I hear that before? Oh yeah, Rocky Horror Music Show. I mean, I think there's like 3 or 4 songs that Richard O'Brien just lifted and put into Rocky Horror and just changed the lyrics. Then there's the Epic Sea Breezes, which is great. Um, it's just brutal that I don't have this at number one because I just think it's a revolutionary record because no one was doing anything like this at the time. I mean, you look at the charts in 1972 here in the States. I mean, it's like um, Carole King, the Eagles. You know what I mean? Good stuff, but it's just very earthy and very blue denimy, to lack of a better term. And this stuff is just like very adventurous and very fantastical. I love it. Self-titled album, number 3.
Yep, and this is very guitar. So my number two was Stranded. I absolutely love, love, love this album. The vocal, and this is where they kind of got away from like this is the one where he had left. I think is their first one. Just so they have a little feel like there was a little more piano, a little more the vocal like Ferry's vocals are a little more notable. Um, there's just everything. The vocals are just amazing. The songs are really different. I actually really like the song Psalm. even though it's super
Mm,
long. I feel like if they
mhm.
played that in churches, people would go to churches. Like the pews would be filled. I would be going to church every day if they were playing that song Psalm. I would stay for the whole 9 minutes or whatever they do. I just love that. It's like bluesy but
Exactly.
cool and edgy. I got obviously the song for Europe is just another absolutely like fantastic song. Serenade, just street life, like with the. I think they were trying to get. I think they went to a Moroccan market to get like the sounds because they were
Yeah.
trying to
Oh
like.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were trying to like do something outside where they were, I don't know, something they were trying to hang something out a window. I think I read something about trying to
Right.
get some street sounds that didn't work out. So they went to some rock and market to get these really cool sounds. But just like again, another just awesomeness. Like it's just so good. Every single song on there, just fantastic.
Yeah. It's damn near perfect. I think it is
Yeah,
perfect.
it is
Um,
kind of, yeah. They're all a bunch of perfect ones. Yeah.
yep. So my number two is going to be Country Life, which basically means we do have the same number one. Um, we did it again. All right. Yeah. Um, Country Life. Um, I think it has the most incredible musicianship, I think, of all the Roxy records. Thrill of It All is might be one of the greatest opening tracks for any record. I just love that. Thompson's drums are in that are awesome.
Mhm.
Um, Brian Ferry's Fender Rhodes piano work on this whole album is just amazing. Um, Bassist now Roxy kind of has like this whole Spinal Tap thing going on with their bass players, where like Spinal Tap had a different drummer on every album because they kept blowing up or whatever. Um, they have a different bass player on every single album except for two, and Paul Gustafson plays on two of them, and this is one of them, and he's an amazing bass player. All I Want Is You is a great pop song. Out of the Blue is I said that about two other songs in here. I think if I get a top 10 songs of all time, it's starting to sound like seven of them would be Roxy songs. But Out of the Blue, just one of my favorite songs of all time. I'm saying it again. Uh, it's just ethereal and mysterious and pulsating, and every aspect of the song is just magical to me. Manzanera is just destroying his guitar at the end. I mean, it sounds like he's just holding it by the tremolo bar and just shaking it all over the place. And Eddie Jobson's electric violin solo in that song, to me, sounds like to me is one of the best solos in any song. I don't care if it's bass guitar. The fact that it's electric violin to me is just it's neither here nor there. It's just an amazing solo. I get goosebumps every time I hear it. Bittersweet is just this really cool oompa German thing going on there. Where I think the cover models on the album were actually these German girls who actually helped Brian Ferry translate his lyrics to German. The third verse where he starts singing in German, they helped him translate them.
Nice.
Um, Casanova, really cool funky song. Um, and then it closes with Prairie Rose, which you could close any concert with that song, and it would bring the house down. Um, it's just incredible. I feel as though I said this in my 1974 video where I was talking about country life, and I really um, feel sometimes like because of my age, I feel a little gypped that like I didn't get to experience Roxy in real time. Like I'm experiencing, like I got into them like in my 20s. I just feel like people that are like 10 years older than me really were lucky,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, that's my number two. So why don't we both talk about For Your Pleasure at number
Sure.
one?
Well, first of all, I gotta say this is the only cover I love. This cover, so I hated a lot of their album covers.
Really?
I think this cover was awesome. I think that was like, I don't know, I just like that one. It was more of a darker kind of with the leather look and the city and the urban thing. I just thought, yeah, it was just cool. That
Yeah,
I thought was I thought that was like edgy. It was cool. It wasn't cheesy at all. Like, I don't know. I just thought that was yeah, reminiscent of thinking of the goth things. I love that cover. But that album, oh my God, that album is like, I feel like they got what they started from their first album and they perfected it to the place of like the ultimate perfection. Like, you're like,
yeah,
all right,
I agree.
they got it there. The sound is, everything is so mixed, the sound. But I will say my very favorite song is on that album. Now, my newest favorite song, which you may not believe this one, but I can't help it. I'm obsessed with it.
All right, I'm curious. What is it?
In every dream a heartache. every
Oh
home
yes, of
and every
course.
home a heartache. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's an amazing song.
That song, I mean, it's a creepy kind of a song, but it's funny
Yes.
and it's dark and it's just
Yep.
like, but the way it changes up, like it's eerie and then it's like, and that blow your mind. And oh my God, it's just like the way it gets all heavy after it. And
Yep.
that song is just, I can't like listen to it enough. I just obsessed
Yeah.
with that song.
Yeah.
You, yeah, but just I just, my God, that album is just so good. And I think no choruses in that, if I understand correctly, in that album.
Um, I would go as far as to say I'm not sure there's any choruses on the album.
Yeah, I don't think in that album at all. I don't think there's any choruses. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, just do the Strand doesn't have a chorus. So I mean,
Dude, the
I
Strand's
know
another freaking cool song.
Beauty Queen does not. Like, so I mean,
Beauty Queen. Oh my God, that's another fantastic. That song's so good too. So many. Oh my God, that album is just like, whew,
yeah,
just edgy, dark, eerie, weird, just like arty, just cool. It's just everything. It's
yeah,
so good.
yeah, yeah. So, yep, number one, for your pleasure. Um, I I've talked about this record ad nauseum, in some of my other videos. So, but I'm going to talk about it some more. So, I just think that this album is like, and I said it in the other video, that I think that this is a once in a lifetime piece of art.
Yeah.
It's not like a rock album. This is not like an album that you listen to and go, oh, that was like, oh, this reminds me of such and such season or whatever. This is like a amazing painting, but it's audio. Um, I mean, it does have some qualities of the first album in common, but it's just so much more dark. But it's not in like a seedy or evil way. It's just like I'll say it again, like more of like a after midnight record. Whereas the first album was where you're getting ready to go out and you're getting all psyched to go out. And this is after you get home all strung out, all fucked up. you know? Um, yeah. I mean, do the Strand. I mean, it's just what a great opening track.
Yeah.
Leave it to Brian Ferry to write a song about a dance that does not exist, about a dance move that doesn't exist, and pull it off. Beauty Queen is just
So awesome.
Fender Rhodes piano beauty,
So good.
exceptional lyrics, a melody line that is so strong and powerful. It carries the whole song because it doesn't even have a hook. There's no chorus in that song. So Brian Ferry is writing 3 verses, and they're so tight and memorable that felt, I'm not going to bother writing a chorus. Um, that whirling guitar slide at the end for Phil Manzanera is amazing. He's the only guy in the world, I think, who could use a slide bar and it literally has nothing to do with the blues whatsoever. Strictly Confidential. I mean, if you really want to talk about it, if like Strictly Confidential, if you take Eleanor Rigby out of the conversation, I think that Strictly Confidential is the first goth song.
Hmm.
Uh, mournful guitar work, ominous drums, Editions of You, great song, great sound effects by Eno, great sax. I'm pretty sure I lifted that riff for one of my songs when I was younger and didn't tell my bandmates, but um, um, we talked about it earlier, and Every Dream Home a Heartache is just an absolute masterpiece. I mean, it really, really is.
And it's all
Essentially,
about, and it's about a blow up doll
it's about a
in
blow up
there.
doll. It's about a blow up doll,
And
and somehow
it's all, who could make a song about a blow up doll? Awesome.
make it sound sexy and haunting. It's
I
like,
know.
um, yeah, the twist at the end with the lyrics, Gray Lagoons is kind of sounds like something that would be on like the first album, kind of breaks up the heaviness a little bit, but it's great. And then the title track, I mean, it really, really sounds like all of those great post-punk bands that I love in the early 80s. Um, I mean, you listen to it and you're just like, that's where Robert Smith and Will Sargent and, um, you know, probably John McGeoch probably got these great sounds from, on their guitar from, listening to Phil. I don't know what else I could say about this amazing album cover.
It's,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I have a different take on the album covers than you do. I think they're done kind of tasteful and like more artfully. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, I do have to do a little bit of censoring when I put the little country life here in the corner, so we don't get banned on YouTube. But yeah, um, I don't know. Roxy Music, amazing, amazing, amazing. Love, love,
So
love it.
amazing. So amazing. And but that For Your Pleasure, that's just radical excellence. Like you can't get better than
Was. I mean,
that
it was
album.
radical for its time. I mean, radical
Absolutely.
is like the perfect word. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, how do you go from For Your Pleasure to Avalon in less than 10 years? It's just
Oh,
so, what an
yeah.
incredible band.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm pissed at them for never doing another album. They're all still here and like they could. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I finally got, because when they did their reunion tour, I couldn't go because I was getting married. So I had a good excuse. But
uh,
I finally got to see them on the last reunion tour. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember how long ago it was. And it was so awesome. They played the Man Center here in Philly, and it was just so awesome. And even though they had to play the songs in a lower key for Brian's voice, because he's not, I mean, I don't know exactly how old he is.
I think he's 78.
I was ready to say 78.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
looked it up. Yeah.
So, I mean, no one's going to have the same voice they did when they were 25 at 78. So, Roxy Music, amazing.
Best. So good.
So if you guys tell me what you think of our rankings, do you think For Your Pleasure is the best one? I wasn't sure if we were both. I was positive we were going to have the same one. Then you said, I don't know. I have this one. I don't know how you feel about it. I'm like, oh my God, maybe she doesn't have For Your Pleasure #1. But we did.
We did. Same one,
Um,
same number one, and our same the
Same
last
number 8.
three. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Well, let us go, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. We're I said I wasn't going to do them. I am going to do one more 70s video. I'm going to close out with 1975 and we'll come back to the 70s next winter. And then I'm going to go back to 1989. And then for the spring and summer, we're going to do the 90s. So, and we'll see if I can even find 25 albums per year in the 90s. I think I can. We'll find out though. Maybe we'll have some like total slop at number 25, but I doubt it. I doubt it. All right. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And talk to you next time. Dead End Street. See ya.